Because the bald eagles in the 2 or 3 nests that I follow in South Florida leave for the summer, we never know if they'll return in the fall, and we never know if they'll have eggs hatch, and have the babies live to be viable. This baby lived 2 years ago. So in the fall, a lot of us that follow these birds are interested in whether they'll return, will they rebuild the nest, and will they have babies that live? Because bald eagles do have a somewhat high mortality rate. So this fall, when the eagles returned to the nest of Spring Creek, it was exciting to see them refurbishing the nest. I never get tired of watching and filming these gorgeous birds. But just because they come back to refurbish the nest doesn't mean that they will necessarily lay eggs, and that if eggs hatch, that the babies will live. But my hope every fall and winter is that that is exactly what will happen. And this fall, the nest building and nest refurbishing was very active, well into the late fall. And then in mid-December, I noticed a change one morning. Instead of them both flying around back and forth with sticks and so on and mating, the female was in the nest that morning, and the male was in a tree watching attentively. The male flew off to presumably get some food, or perhaps bring more sticks in, because the nest building doesn't stop. And the female was clearly tending to something in the nest. My hope was that it was an egg. Here you can see the female just about an hour after first light. And she settles down. There's a characteristic settling in motion and a shimmying motion that the female makes when lying on eggs. In this case, I actually believe there are 2 eggs in the nest, not just one. The male and female function as a team quite frequently. Here the female is getting ready to lie down on the eggs, and you can see that the male is very attentive. Attentive both to her condition and to the condition of the eggs, because they've lost eggs before. It's frequently the job of the male to go out and get food, although sometimes they do change places. Here the male does a flyby. I slowed this down slightly, and you can hear the female's excitement that he's coming into the nest. She's very excited to see him, and even more excited that he brought a fish. It's now late afternoon, and in the late fall, the sun sets quite early. The female's in the nest, and the male has flown in and now looks down from a branch just above. And he changes position and goes to another branch relatively beside the nest. The female eats some of the last food that was dropped off in the afternoon, and then darkness starts to fall. And the male stays in that position right by the nest. The next morning is gorgeous, and as I zoom in to the nest, I find they're in the same position. The male is in exactly the same position he was the night before. And about an hour later, the male flies into the nest to greet the female. Not all of the nest and egg tending falls on the female. Here they switch positions. The female, who has been in the nest all night, this is in the early morning, flies off, and she'll be looking for food this time, and the male goes up into the nest and is going to take the responsibility for tending the nest, and he settles down onto the eggs. And here they are working together, continuing to tend the nest, as is their custom during the several weeks that the egg is in the nest. These birds are very healthy, and it's great to see them again this year. But I want to see what I saw 2 years ago. I want to see these gorgeous birds flying in with food to feed a baby. That's my hope for this winter. I want to see the baby become viable. I feel very fortunate to have been able to follow this family. Nothing is guaranteed, but my hope is that these birds will have a baby or even 2 babies that live. And I will be thrilled to capture some of that on film.